we got our Vlog Dog shirts, and if you want to see the best merch ad ever, if I do say so myself, it's going to be at the end of this video. Okay, I'm doing a slight follow-up on my analysis of the FaceApp terms of service. Going to respond to some of the comments in the comment section. Am I in focus here? Because some of the comments were actually quite interesting and raised some points that I didn't necessarily mean to suggest or imply. Everyone was commenting on how these terms of services are no different than YouTube or Facebook or Instagram's terms of services, and but for the fact that it's a big boogeyman Russian company, no one would really care. And while there is some truth to that, there is some nuance to the fact that it is in fact an overseas company that has these terms of service, not necessarily a Russian company, just a country that is not based in North America, subject to North American laws, and I'll get into that in a second. Need to make some breakfast. Eggs, mushrooms, Tex-Mex cheese. Booyaka shot. Oh. All right, the reality is that the terms of service on that FaceApp terms of service are in fact pretty similar, if not identical, to the terms of service on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and any other app that you use on your phone for that matter that you allow to access your photos. So if you're freaked out about the terms of service on FaceApp in and of themselves, you should be equally freaked out about the terms of service on all of these social media applications. So why is it more relevant that it is a Russian company that is asking you to sign off on these terms of service, or is it more relevant? It is in fact more relevant, but not for the fact that it's a Russian company and, you know, big bad Russia trying to meddle with election stuff and all that stuff. It's not bad or worse per se just because it's Russia and Russia's a big boogeyman. It's bad or worse because it's an overseas company, and you have to think about what that means in terms of any legal recourse that one may have, even if it is governed by the laws of California, subject to the jurisdiction of California and arbitration in California. 3 eggs. Oh, there's shell in there. Mushrooms. This is what we call sustenance eating. Flavor be damned, it is about proteins, fungus, pick that up off the floor, and more protein, cheese. Got something in my mouth. 3 minutes, 45 seconds, so we can finish this in the other room. All right. The company is located in Russia. Arbitration clause forces arbitration in California subject to the laws and jurisdiction of California. So let's just say hypothetically that someone has to sue FaceApp in California and they obtain a $1 million judgment against the company. Great. What assets are we going to execute against? At the very least with Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, these are American-based companies with assets in America. So if you get a judgment against the company in America, at the very least, in theory, you have assets against which to execute a judgment. And what exactly does that mean? Well, if you get a $1 million judgment against somebody who doesn't have $1 million cash in a bank account or even $1 million in assets, what are they going to satisfy that judgment with? How are they going to pay off that judgment? They can pay it off with money in the bank, selling assets that they have, or paying it off slowly through revenue that they get in the future. But if you get a judgment against someone who has absolutely no assets, they are called judgment proof, because even if you get the best judgment in the world on paper, you have nothing against which to execute that judgment. You are never going to get paid on that judgment. So playing this thought experiment out, if I get $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, if I get a $3 billion judgment against FaceApp for wanton disregard of the terms of service, exploitation of my face, etc., whatever, what assets am I going to execute that judgment against? They are an overseas company faced with an arbitration award from California. Good. If they have no assets in California, North America, no bank accounts, no real estate, no property that I can seize and sell under judicial authority to satisfy the judgment, I've got to take that arbitral award and go to Russia, have it recognized by Russian courts, and then attempt to execute against assets that this company may have in Russia. It's not Russia, Russia, Russia. It could be France, it could be Germany, it could be Ukraine, it could be Estonia, it could be Japan, China, it could be any overseas country. And not knowing what international arbitration treaties we may have with that country, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do with my positive judgment that I might get in California following an arbitration. One has to appreciate that even if they get a favorable judgment, and barring an international treaty, and sometimes even in the presence of an international treaty, you have to take that judgment to the country where the individual defendant resides in order to have it executed or executable against that defendant. You've got to go through the court system of that particular country to have that court system recognize the judgment, make it able to be executed in that country, and then hope that that individual defendant has assets in that country where you've just wasted all this time and resources getting a judgment in California, taking it overseas, having it recognized in a foreign jurisdiction in order to be able to execute against a defendant who doesn't have assets in the chosen jurisdiction but rather in their home country. You've got to hope that all the stars align after all of your costs are incurred that you can actually be able to execute against the judgment. And so that's why it's relevant that this is an overseas company forcing one to accept these terms of service. I don't care that they've chosen the jurisdiction of California, arbitration rules of California. Even if someone succeeds on getting a positive judgment, one has to worry about how they go about executing that judgment on a foreign defendant with no assets in the chosen jurisdiction. It's a whole legal nightmare, which is why I say that sometimes in law, even when you win, you lose. Because you might have a great judgment on paper, but good luck executing it. Okay, I just heard the breakfast beep, and I am hungry because Vlog Dog's gotta eat. If you like this video and you like my content, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and if you want one of these bad boy Vlog Dog shirts, the link is below and the ad is now. Peace out. Boom! We got it. And there's 30 minutes left in the day to do the most perfect photo shoot ever. Everyone, huddle around. Oh.
Dibs on sweatshirt.
Dibs on sweatshirt. It's 31 degrees, probably not the best day. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, this one's yours.
I don't want one.
Photo shoot time.